Welcome back. Did I froze there, huh? Nope. Welcome to Lord TV, L3RD TV. Today, late night vibes. Well, you guys say early morning. It's in the mornings. We're gonna look at some playoff picture, NBA style. Ooh, because there's 12 to 15 games left in the season, give or take. So it's kind of the crunch time, if you will. And I think pretty much the teams that are in the places now are probably going to be locked in for the playoff picture. So there's some really interesting matchups. There might be some slight move. Maybe mostly on the Western Conference, I can see some movement, but outside of that, I think the East is pretty locked in where they're gonna be. So let's go ahead and start with the East real quick, and then we'll take a look at the West Coast, because I think that's gonna be a little bit more interesting. So if we are looking at the East Coast, let me go ahead and minimize myself here. If we are looking at the East Coast, obviously Cavaliers 1 seed, Celtics 2 seed, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all kind of locks for where they're going to be and who they're most likely going to play. Obviously the Pistons, Pacers, and Bucks are pretty close in record and could potentially jump around, but I think it's gonna probably end up like this. If anything does happen, I can see maybe the Bucks slipping to the 6th seed and the Pistons moving up into this 5th seed. But for the most part, I think this is probably how it's going to end. So we'll just take it as it is right now. So if we're looking at the play-ins, we have the Cavaliers playing either the Bulls or the Heat. The Heat have been on a losing streak as of late. I think they're on their 9th game as of today. They lost against the Pistons. I think Cade hit the game winner, if I'm not mistaken. I know he hit a game winner today, but I don't recall who it was against. But nevertheless, they lost again, 9th game in a row. So if we're looking at that play-in matchup, 9 versus 10, Bulls versus Heat, I think the Heat overall are a better team. They probably have the better roster. Yeah, Cade hit the game winner against the Heat. They have the better roster, but if we're looking at current kind of form, if you will, current momentum, they're not looking hot. I mean, it doesn't really matter who wins that game. They're going to lose to the Cavaliers either way, whoever comes out of that. Now, when we're looking at the 7-8 matchup, the Hawks versus the Magic, that is actually a really interesting game. The Magic, obviously, overall has a better roster. But I think the upside of a Trae Young in these kind of clutch moments, in these big game moments, we know and have seen that he really does step up. So, once again, that's a toss-up. But the same thing, doesn't really matter. They're going to lose to the Celtics. Whomever comes out of that, it's just who's going to make it a little bit more interesting. I think if the Hawks come out of that, they'll probably get swept. Versus if the Magic come out of that, I could see the Magic stealing a game, maybe 2, just because defensively, they're pretty solid, and then they have two stars, and Paolo being borderline superstar, if you will. I think he's a superstar already, but you know how people are with these weird ass titles. But that would definitely be a very interesting game, that 7-8 matchup, Magic versus the Hawks. But I do think one game off, like I said, I kind of trust Trey's upside a little more, and I could see them winning that game. I would want the Magic to come out of that, just because I think it would be a little bit more of an interesting series against the Celtics, where I think they can get a game or two, versus the Hawks. I think the Celtics will probably sweep them, and they may get a game, but the Celtics will probably sweep them. Versus the Magic, I could see them getting potentially 2 games, definitely a game, but potentially two games. But regardless, they're gonna get dubbed by the Celtics, no matter which way you kind of want to chop it up. Then if we're going into these other games, 4-5, I think that's a bad matchup for the Pacers. I don't think they want to have to face the Bucks, a Dame and a Giannis. Even though they've kind of been a letdown, in all honesty. I think most people kind of looking at that was like, ooh, that pick and roll game is gonna be mean. That 2-man game is gonna be crazy. But in reality, that's not really what they do. It's not really what they do. More so from a Giannis perspective. Giannis will have Dame come set a screen. Like, Giannis will play point guard more than Dame, and Dame is more the 2-man, the off ball guard in that combination, which it is what it is. Giannis is a perennial MVP candidate, every year. So like, what are you gonna do? I mean, Dame is Dame, but Giannis is Giannis, so. But it's a weird dynamic. They really don't mesh well, those two superstars. But that's where they're at right now. So it is what it is. But I don't think the Pacers really would want to see them, and I think the Bucks would overall probably win that series. Physicality is probably the biggest thing. The Pacers want to play fast. Which typically doesn't translate well in the playoffs. But I mean, last year they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Tyrese Halliburton, he's kind of picked up lately. I know the start of the season he was kind of off his game, but he's really picked up lately. In this kind of second half of the season, he's kind of came back to his normality, if you will, or kind of what we expect out of Tyrese, and the Pacers have been making a pretty solid push, but I don't really think they want to see that matchup, so I think they would get them out of there. Now, this Knicks Pistons matchup, this is definitely the best series on this side of the bracket, because the Pistons are solid, like very solid defensively, offensively. Cade Cunningham gets them into some really good sets. He really knows how to control the offense. He's really taken a huge leap this year, and I think that will cause them a problem. Now, I do think the Knicks will probably get that dub in that series. I could see this series being the first seven game series on the East Coast, at least. Now the Pistons could very much well win that. They actually kind of match up nicely against the Knicks, and I think the thing with like last year, the Pistons didn't know how to close games. Like last year, they lost so many games in the fourth quarter in the last 5 minutes. They're really in games. This year, they're winning those games. They've beaten good teams this year. they have a overall solid roster, and I think like the biggest thing is the veterans that they got in the offseason. Tobias Harris being the main one. Timmy Hardaway obviously is very solid for them. Malik Beasley is very solid for them, but Cade Cunningham really taking that next step into superstardom has been the biggest thing for them, and I could see them kind of punching up and knocking the Knicks out. So the Knicks really don't want to run into them right now, or run into them in the playoffs. I think the Knicks would probably have the Pistons move up to the 5th seed and the Bucks drop, and I think they will probably like that matchup a little bit more, in all honesty, because every time the Knicks have played the Bucks, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's been an ass whooping. So I think they would probably prefer that matchup, but I think this is going to be the best series on this side of the bracket. Overall, I think the Cavs and the Celtics are going to be the Eastern Conference teams that come through and meet up in the Eastern Conference Finals, which we have seen has been very interesting games. No matter how they kind of start, the games, for whatever reason, have a lot of the time started with the Celtics just tearing into the Cavs, and then the Cavs kind of making that push in the next 2-3 quarters of the game, and then making a game out of it come that fourth quarter. Obviously the Cavs won the last iteration of that matchup a couple weeks back, so that's definitely going to be a very interesting Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Celtics still, regardless of what the records are, 56-13 for the Cavs, 50-19 for the Celtics. The Celtics are still top to bottom the better team. They have the two better superstars, and JT and JB, Jalen Brown. Which I've seen a lot of people say it from different podcasts, and I wholeheartedly agree with the Cavs. You really need Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell to combine for 50 plus for them to really do anything. And I think Donovan Mitchell can kind of almost guarantee his 22 to 26 a night. I think Darius Garland sometimes kind of lets Donovan Mitchell down, and he'll have games where he doesn't get to 20 points, which he can't happen come playoff time for that team to be successful. But we'll see what happens. But I do think the Celtics overall are going to be the team to come out of the East. Now, if we're moving it over to the other side, we have what's going to be very, very interesting, this West Coast. Now, obviously, the Mavs were the 10th seed, but obviously with Kyrie's injury and them shutting down, I think they're gonna shut down AD and just worry about next season. The Suns are probably gonna keep that 10th seed. So if we're looking at that matchup, I think it's the same as far as the East. The 1 seed with the Thunder is going to beat whoever comes out of that. But if we're just going quickly through the seedings, 1, Thunder, 2, Rockets, which this is where I was saying things can get interesting, because 2, 3, and 4, Rockets, Lakers, and Nuggets, all can flip-flop, like easily, all can flip-flop. Because it's so tight, 44-26 for the Nuggets, 43-25 for the Lakers, 45-25 for the Rockets. So out of all of these, the Lakers have played two less games than everybody due to those the fires, and that's why they have so many back-to-backs this month. I think they had altogether like 4 or 5 back-to-back, 4 to 5 separate back-to-back games, which is insane in 1 month. But it is what it is with what happened with the California Fires, where they had kind of missed a couple of games. They had a couple of home games postponed, if I'm not mistaken. So, they're gonna have to make up those games this month. So they could potentially end up in the 2 seed. I would prefer the Lakers to end up in the 2 seed, as most people who actually know me, I'm a huge Luka Doncic fan. So you're gonna hear here first. Yes, I did jump ship from the Mavs to the Lakers, but I'm a players guy. My favorite team is the Bulls. Let me put that out there. And then outside of the Bulls, I go for players, and my favorite player is Luka Doncic. So I am supporting the Lakers, which unfortunately, if you also know me, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, but my love for Luka outweighs my dislike of LeBron. So if he's got to get his rings, so Luka can get his rings, then so be it. It is what it is. But I would much rather the Lakers get that 3 seed, even though the Lakers probably match up really well against the Warriors. I don't want that matchup in the first round. I know they're gonna have to face each other in the next round regardless, even if the Lakers were to move there. But I don't want that in the first round. I want the Warriors to at least get a little push. And it's also kind of a bad matchup for. Well, no, because they play small ball. So yeah, it actually works in the Lakers' favor, not having to face a big, which the Warriors don't really have any dominant bigs, and they don't really play when they have their best lineup out there. It's not with a big anyway. So I think the Lakers would probably relish in that, and it'd be a good matchup for them. But I want to see the Warriors get at least to the second round, get a little push. Steph Curry get a little push. Jimmy Buckets get a little push in the playoffs. But I kind of digress there. But going back to the playing games, where we're gonna start at, Suns versus Kings. Doesn't matter. They're going to lose to the Thunder, but I think the Kings will probably win that. But you also have the Kevin Durant factor. It's KD. It's hard to bet against KD. And the Kings, both teams are fucking mid at best, in all honesty. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It is what it is. The Suns are a huge letdown, considering they've been relatively healthy the whole season, and you'd have those 3 superstars. Huge letdown for what they've been. But at the same time, I don't know. It's a letdown for the names on the team. But for me, I don't think it's a letdown, because those 3 players were never really going to mesh. Like Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, you kind of have 3 of the same players, with Kevin Durant being the best of them. Like, what kind of offense are you going to run? You have 3, one-on-one players, stop the ball. Not really good teammates involved. Yes, out of the 3 of them, Kevin Durant, is the most efficient, takes the least amount of shots to get the same amount of points as the other 2 could potentially get. But you also don't want to play Kevin Durant just off the ball. It's KD. He needs the ball in his hand. But you also don't want to play Devin Booker off the ball as Devin Booker needs the ball. And the same thing with Britt. It just was never going to be a good mesh. But if you're just looking at it from the standpoint of the names, yes, it's very disappointing, the fact that you have those 3 names and they're sitting at a 10th seed. But it is what it is. They're gonna get clapped up by the Thunder, whoever makes it through there. Clippers versus Timberwolves. Now this This is going to be a good game. This is going to be a very good game. I don't know who comes out of that. I think the Clippers would probably beat the Timberwolves. But you also have Ant-Man. I don't know. That's going to be a good game. I think the Clippers would come out of that. Now, if these are the seedings and this is how it ends up shaking, the Clippers are going to beat the Rockets. Like they go to this game, the Clippers are going to beat the Rockets. James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Big Zoo. Big Zoo's been killing lately. Big Zoo's a beast. All year he's a beast. He's solid. He's super solid. But the Rockets are not going to want to see them in a 7-game series. And especially, Kawhi's been putting up a couple quiet little Kawhi performances. Obviously we all know Kawhi has historically, let's say his Clipper days, has kind of missed out on playoff games or been hurt in the playoffs. This year, I think he's going in the playoffs pretty healthy. I think they've been really good with their load management with him. Knee man, whatever his health problems, dude is whatever he got going on. But if he's going in, that's going to be scary for the Rockets. If Kawhi's going in healthy, in shape, in rhythm, that's going to be a problem for the Rockets. And I could see the Clippers beating the Rockets. And then I think the Lakers are going to beat the Warriors. Then I think the Lakers would then beat whoever comes out of that Clippers, Rockets, Timberwolves, even though I think the Clippers would beat the Timberwolves in the play-in. Overall, beat the Rockets in the first round, and then I think the Lakers are going to beat the Warriors, and Clippers are going to have LA versus LA second round, and the Lakers are gonna get them out of there pretty quickly. I think they will probably sweep them. Like, we know what Luka does to the Clippers. Bring the brooms, because it's going to be 30 points each game. And LeBron's going to be ready to go. LeBron has pretty good games against the Clippers, too, historically. That boy AR-50 is going to... Now, the thing with the Clippers, though, is they got Big Zoo. And Big Zoo is a beast. So he would cause problems for the Lakers, because the Lakers don't have a big. They got Jackson Hayes, who's mid. But, they could get one game. Could be a 5, gentlemen's, but still about here. Now, Nuggets, Grizzlies. Grizzlies aren't ready for Jokic. Like, they're not. No, they're not ready for Jokic at all. So, no, nah. Nuggets are getting the Grizzlies up out of here. Grizzlies. You got Ja, so you might get a game, maybe. But that boy Jokic, come on, no. You don't want to see Jokic, no. Out of here. Out of here. Get him out. See ya. So, Nuggets are going to come through in that one. And then that matchup of the Nuggets versus the Thunder is going to be a series. It's going to be a series. Man, that's going to be a good series. I'm excited for that one. That's going to, if this is how it locks up and shapes out, that's going to be a serious series. And the Nuggets, I don't know. I think the Thunder's roster, top to bottom, is better. 1 through 7, because that's typically what it is in the playoffs. It's 1 through 7, sometimes 1 through 8, maybe, but it's typically like 1 through 7. Your 8th guy gets like 7 minutes, maybe, but 1 through 7, the Thunder have a better roster. 1 through 7. Yeah, I'll stick with that. That's going to be a good series. It's going to be very interesting. You have the 2 top MVP candidates going at it. And MVP's announced around this time too, if I'm remembering correctly. It's in like the second to conference finals, in that ballpark. It's typically announced. I know it's definitely after the first round. So I don't know. That's gonna be a tough one. I think the Nuggets might edge it just because of the experience factor and having done it before. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a good series. I think that's for sure a 6 games minimum, like 6 games minimum, 7 games. I think is what it's gonna go. That's gonna be a very interesting series. I'm gonna go ahead and just lean towards the Nuggets only for experience factors, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Thunder ended up winning that series. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it wouldn't. I'm like, oh my god, it wouldn't catch me off guard. But I think the Nuggets will probably win that in 7 games, and then you'll have Lakers versus Nuggets, Western Conference Finals. I think that'll also be a 6 or 7 game series, with the Lakers winning. I think JJ would have a good scheme on kind of how to slow Jokic down. We kind of saw it a couple weeks back. How they kind of played Jokic to get the ball out of his hand, and tried to have the other guys beat them. So we'll see. But I think the Lakers have a high chance of coming out of the West, and even if they play the Thunder, I think they'll still win, and it'll probably be a better matchup because they don't have an elite big like a Jokic to have to go against. So it'll probably actually work to their benefit to play the Thunder. But regardless, I think the Lakers have a really good chance of coming out of the West. So we'll see, and then you're probably gonna get a Lakers Celtics historic for the history, the nostalgia finals. And that one is a toss-up. I know the Celtics won just recently against the Lakers, with Lakers not having LeBron. But I also know that earlier in the year, the Lakers clapped the Celtics. So I don't know what to make of it. That's going to be an interesting series. Celtics probably win again. But I think the Lakers also in that matchup, because they don't have any bigs, it's a good matchup for them, especially if LeBron's healthy, Rui's healthy, Austin, everybody's like, if everybody's healthy from both parties, I could see the Lakers also winning it, and Luka getting his first ring in his first year in LA, which is what I hope. So we'll see, but playoff picture is very, very interesting. A lot of good games. A lot of good games on both sides. So we'll see what shakes and what bakes, but it's going to be a very interesting playoffs. Kind of see how this ends up. Like I said, I think this is going to end up like this. It's going to stay like this with the more so 4, 5, 6 could move around. I think it's going to stay, and then on this side, 2, 3, 4 is potentially going to move around. So we'll see how it goes, but no matter what, some very interesting matchups, and I'm definitely looking forward to the playoffs. Definitely looking forward to the playoffs because no matter what happens, it's some very interesting matchups. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple of weeks as we get into April and these last like I said, 12 to 15 games. But I'm excited for the playoffs. I can't wait. It's best time of the year for NBA fans. So we got some good games coming up for these playoffs for the 2024-2025 season. So we'll see. I'll be back with another NBA talk in the next couple of days here. Going deeper into certain teams and kind of seeing where they stack up and what they need to kind of fall in place to have some successful runs here in the playoffs. But that's all for me. Adios, muchachos.